What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Somewhat Sports Podcast. My name is Chris, and I'm joined by two of the titans in the industry, Jurg and Dame. How are we today?
Oh, it's my favorite day of the week. It's recording day. Once again, Somewhat Sports back at it. And the autumn of 2021, it's looking beautiful. The weather's actually still not that terrible outside. You know, we've had a couple random nice days here and there. Like yesterday was like 60 something, which felt weird. But yeah, it's going strong, and we're back for another week of talk.
Same shit every week. I'm good. Nothing much going on in my life. Not well, yeah.
Well,
I'm
you went
good.
to the gym today, Dame. You know,
I did go to the gym every day.
Okay. All
You
right.
good?
Now that we got that sob story out of the way, let's move on over to sports, which is why we're here in the first place. Kind of a free-for-all episode this week. Jurg told us that there's not a lot of hockey news. So for all the hockey fans of the Somewhat Sports Podcast, no hockey this week, unfortunately. That Jurg told us that. Jurg said no hockey, so we said no hockey. If the GOAT says no hockey, then there's no hockey to talk about. So we move on from that. We got NFL news, and we're also going to talk about some NBA stuff. Now, gentlemen, luckily for us, we're recording on Thursday, and just 5 minutes ago, we got some breaking news. Now, before we get into like the free-for-all discussion, the free-for-all aspect of this discussion, of this episode, we're going to talk about the news that just hit us. Cam Newton officially signs with the Carolina Panthers, a reunion, fellas. Now, for those who don't know, Damien, of all of us, is the biggest Cam
Uh-huh.
Newton fan. So
I
Dame,
am.
how about you start us off with this one? What do you think about this move for the Panthers? What do you think about this move for Cam? Talk to me. Thoughts, concerns, criticisms, comments.
It's news to me that I'm the biggest Cam Newton fan, but
You have his jersey, dog.
I don't. But
Yeah, you
anyways,
do. You have his shirt.
I literally don't. What do
Yo, you
like,
have his shirt,
I
bro.
literally don't, bro. What is
You
wrong with
wore it to
you?
the Super Bowl in
Nah,
2016.
nah, they didn't even play in the Super Bowl in 2016. Anyways,
What? Was it
um,
2015?
I think that signing for the Panthers is really good. Obviously, Sam Darnold hasn't really panned out in the last few games. The first couple games, he was pretty good. In the last few games, don't know what's been going on. He just hasn't been the same quarterback he was to start the year. And obviously, now he's hurt with a shoulder injury. He's going to be, I think, 4 weeks. They placed him on the IR, so it's a minimum of 3, but I think the schedule is 4. So clearly they needed a QB, and they weren't comfortable with PJ Walker at QB. I know he was an XFL star, but XFL and NFL are two different like leagues. Honestly, it's like the G League and the NBA. So for the Panthers, I really like it. Obviously, Cam Newton familiar with the team, the city, all that stuff. Like I never thought they should have let him go in the first place. Uh, but now they bring him back. Obviously, he's not the same MVP caliber quarterback he was when he used to be there, but I still think he's better than PJ Walker or really any quarterback option that was out there for them. The Panthers are obviously still trying to compete. They're still hanging in there around that wild card spot, so they still have a chance at the playoffs. So they're going to try to win. They're not going to tank the season away. Although I hope they do because the Jets own their second round pick, but it's a story for a different day. As for Cam Newton, I mean, what's more of a perfect situation for him than to go back to Carolina? Like that offense is stacked, that defense is stacked. All they really need is that quarterback to really compete. And I don't know if Cam Newton's going to be that, but for him, it's the best situation for him to succeed. You have DJ Moore, who he's familiar with. He's played with him in his previous days in Carolina. He hasn't played Robbie Anderson yet, but we'll see if he can revive Robbie Anderson because that guy is garbage. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey is now healthy. You have Terrace Marshall from LSU that they drafted this year, another wide receiver. That offensive line is improved, and obviously that defense, all those corners and that defense overall that they have is extremely impressive as well. So, for both sides, I really like it. I don't know how much of a contender this really makes them, but it definitely makes them better than they would be with PJ Walker.
You know, fellas, it's always lovely to see when the prodigal son returns. And that is what we have here with Cam Newton going back to the Carolina Panthers. Do remember, for all the NFL historians that we have listening in the audience, that just at the very start of the Matt Rule tenure, that's when an era of Carolina Panthers football ended. Luke Kuechly retired, Cam Newton was cut, and a whole lot of roster changes happened to the team where essentially most of, if not the entire core that was left from that Super Bowl run where they made it and lost to the Broncos, was essentially, I don't want to say purged in a negative way,
What
but
year was that? What year was that?
essentially gone. It was Super Bowl 50 if I'm not mistaken.
Was that
So
2016?
it was the 20. No, it was
Keep going. I'll look
uh,
it up, Jurg. Don't worry.
I think if I had to guess, I think it was the 2015 regular season, but the Super Bowl happened in February of 2016. Like I think that's technically what it was because Cam was the MVP of the 2015 season, if I'm not mistaken. Speaking of Cam Newton,
It was 2016. Damien, fuck you, bro. Dude's trying to make you seem like I have dementia or some shit, bro.
Doesn't
Eat
change the
ass.
fact I don't have his shirt.
You have, there is
I
video.
do
No,
not.
no, my God, yes you do, son. You literally
Find
have
evidence.
the freaking like
Find
teal
evidence.
blue shirt, bro. The
No, I have a
aqua blue.
McCaffrey one. I have a McCaffrey one.
No, you have the Newton one. Never
You
mind.
have a
Jurg, go ahead.
McCaffrey one.
Jurg, go ahead.
This is the most heated debate the pod's seen in weeks. Anyways, with Cam Newton returning to the place that, where he became an MVP, where he led this team to a Super Bowl appearance, and where he also started getting hurt a lot because, quite frankly, the NFL did not care about him getting banged up compared to a lot of quarterbacks, but that's a story for another time. Anyways, it's interesting to see that Cam returns there. I always found the idea of him reuniting in Carolina was enticing, especially because Cam never really got to work with what we saw from Christian McCaffrey being this top running back. Like, yes, him and CMC, they did play a little bit, but not to see Christian McCaffrey wasn't, this level yet where he is one of the best running backs in the game, a true game changer, and literally the lifeline of Sam Darnold. Because note the fact that Sam Darnold was looking pretty good at the start when CMC was in the lineup, and look what happened when he was taken out due to injuries and stuff like that. Sam Darnold really started to struggle. I think he only had one good and then one maybe average game without Christian McCaffrey. And then even with him coming back, it was pretty obvious that Sam Darnold, the offense wasn't clicking like it was from the very beginning. And it leads to this. And injury always opens up opportunity. And this is Cam Newton's opportunity to try to extend his career as much as he can. Obviously, we remember when he was cut at the end of the preseason with the Patriots. A lot of people thought that Bill Belichick was doing him the favor of, I'm going to give him the chance to go somewhere else where he could start. And hey, maybe at the end of the day, this was the right call because now he's going to go there. He's going to start for this Panthers team. Like Dame said, he's got some connection with DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey. Maybe Robbie Anderson and Cam Newton can help each other. Maybe Cam Newton, if his shoulder is even 5% better than what we've seen in previous years, him and Robbie Anderson can connect on a couple of deep shots, 25, 30 yards down the field. Because that's what this Panthers team needs more of. We know Christian McCaffrey's so good. The running game is fine. And just generally speaking, the Panthers running game is solid. And Christian McCaffrey can essentially be like a slot receiver. Like you could line him up in the slot and he could get the quick passes. DJ Moore can be just about anywhere on the field as the number one receiver. But this team really needs like the threat, at least, of a deep shot. And Robbie Anderson's there. Terrence Marshall Jr. as well. He could go deep. He could go intermediate. Like that kid is super talented. You just give Cam Newton a weapon. And that's what quarterbacks need when they're not supremely talented, or in Cam's case, he was supremely talented. He just doesn't have it anymore due to wear and tear. You need to give him weapons. And the weapons of Christian McCaffrey, if healthy, DJ Moore being his number one, play toys in Marshall and Robbie Anderson. I like it. I'm really interested to see how Matt Rule works with Cam Newton because I think the thing is that in his time so far, Rule's worked with Teddy Bridgewater. He's worked with Sam Darnold. He hasn't really had a quarterback that's run first like Cam is. And I want to see how dynamic this Panthers offense could look if Cam is feeling fine enough to where they do a couple running plays. Not in no way will it be the same of how it was when he was first there, but I could still see, 6 to 7 carries a game here and there, maybe a couple more if, stuff breaks down. Because I think Cam, at least one time a game, could break out a good 15-yard run or so if he has to. So it's going to be intriguing to see how the offense goes. And overall, this is just, Carolina's hopes that they could remain competitive for the rest of the season. The wild card in the NFC, we see how good the records are. I don't want to necessarily count them out yet because I think there's always still an outside shot for a team like them with that talent. But at the same time, it needs to start now. And Cam Newton, he's got a task ahead of him because, this team where there was expectations by people, at least us, I know at least 2 out of 3 of us had them as finishing as the second team in the NFC South in the preseason. Now that's not looking the same because they've been on a massive losing streak. It's really all or nothing right now for Carolina, and Matt Rule and Joe Brady need to bring everything they have with Cam coming back as the quarterback now. And I really want to see what Joe Brady can do with Cam Newton because I think him having a weapon like Cam could be intriguing, but it all depends on health. But I like this at the end of the day. Just Cam Newton going back there. There's some familiarity, at least with some of the guys and the environment. And I think on the field, it might take a week or two, but I think it's going to, be fine. I'll say that. I think it'll end up being pretty fine for the Panthers and Cam. And like I said, this could be Cam's opportunity. We talk about like these old guys trying to extend their careers, kind of like a Blake Griffin in the NBA. This is Blake's chance to try to extend his career and make it so that next offseason we're not waiting 90, 100 days for someone to sign him, So
All right. All right. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out going forward and what it ultimately means for Sam Darnold too. All right. Let's talk about OBJ, fellas. Odell Beckham Jr., I think he's cleared waivers. He is free to sign wherever he pleases. So we're hearing rumblings about certain teams. So initially it was, I think, Saints, Packers, Patriots were in there. I think the Chiefs were in there. Am I missing another team initially from the start?
no, Saints, Packers, Chiefs
Seahawks.
sounds good.
Seahawks, yes. Thank you, Damien.
Actually, yeah.
So yeah, those were initially the teams that OBJ was interested in. I think it is narrowed down from some reports that we've read that it's between the Packers, the Chiefs, and the Saints. I think the Raiders were in contention, but then they signed Deshaun Jackson, I believe. So I think they're out of it now. Yeah, so clearly this is, the biggest discussion in the NFL right now because, OBJ, obviously his time in Cleveland was not successful. The Baker relationship obviously was a failure. So, a lot of people think OBJ is washed, but I think a lot of people also think that a change in scenery, especially with a very good quarterback, would help OBJ and get him back to form. If not, at least better than what he was in Cleveland. Not confirmed, but there is some rumors in the grapevine that OBJ may wait until the Sunday games are over to make his decision. Now, I was talking to Damien off mic about this and what that could mean. Now, before we get on to what that could mean, so we talked about it: Saints, Packers, and Chiefs. Now, for a bit, I think the Packers were the front runner here. There was various reports on like OBJ wants the Packers, but then 080 might want the Seahawks. So before we get into like the main teams, I don't think it makes sense for him to go to the Patriots. Mac Jones is fine and all, but again, he's still an unproven quarterback. I don't know how much of an improvement that is from Baker. You're with Bill Belichick, but still, they're a decent team, but I don't think they're a really good team. So, you'd probably be like the number one receiver, but still, I just think OBJ should be about winning at this point. Seahawks are kind of weird because, Russell Wilson's there, and, they have a good wide receiver core, especially if they had OBJ. But again, they have Lockett, they have Metcalf. I don't think you'll get the targets you want if you're OBJ as much as you want. And again, the Seahawks are also 3-5. They're kind of weird. They're kind of all over the place. You don't know how Russ is going to be coming off injury. And now we move on over to the Saints. In my opinion, it doesn't make sense because they don't have a quarterback. I just think that's more of a personal decision because he wants to be closer to home. That's the only reason I assume he'd want to go to the Saints. So that leaves the Packers and the Chiefs, in which, in my opinion, are the two best options. And I think I could speak for you guys. You guys agree that the Packers and the Chiefs are the two best options for him because you are literally playing with the two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He would be playing with Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. So 7-1, they're kind of a lock to make the playoffs, kind of a lock to go far in the NFC. So the appeal is there. Now for the Chiefs, which is in my opinion the place to go to if I'm him, you play with Patrick Mahomes. I get the hesitancy because the Chiefs are kind of sus this season, but he did. If we're gonna go by the reports, and now I bring up to what me and Dame were talking about, if we're gonna go by the reports that he might wait till Sunday to make his decision, I think that he's leaning more towards the Chiefs if that's the case, because it's an easy decision if you're gonna go to the Packers. They're 7-1. There's nothing to really think about there. I think if you're gonna wait till Sunday, then you kind of want to see the Chiefs are 5-4. They won their game against the Packers actually last week. Again, no Aaron Rodgers, so they're 5-4. They play the Raiders. They play the Raiders, right? This Sunday?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so they play the Raiders. In my opinion, if you're going to wait till Sunday, you want to make sure that the Chiefs have a little bit of stability going forward, that they're picking it up a bit. That's why I think he's waiting. If that's my 2 cents. That's my prediction. Why else would you wait? I feel like going to Green Bay, it's kind of like a surefire thing. Go to the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. it'll be like such a smooth transition because I think those three guys are so likable, and then OBJ will vibe with them. You're gonna have Patrick Mahomes throwing you the ball. You're gonna be, you're gonna have so many targets. I think it's gonna rejuvenate his career. It's gonna rejuvenate his joy for the game. I just think Patrick Mahomes is gonna hit him so many times, man. He's gonna catch him so many times, and again, deep ball threat. Patrick Mahomes wants to sling it. It'll also the attention from Tyreek Hill will make OBJ way more open than he would initially. And yeah, you can make that argument for the Packers too because they have Devontae Adams. But I think with Travis Kelce also being a threat, it opens the door for him just being open for targets for Patrick Mahomes. So I think he'll have more fun with Kansas City. I think Kansas City is going to turn the corner. I think they're going to beat the Raiders. Spoiler alert for our picks. So I don't know. It seems like he's leaning towards that. I just think he wants to make sure that Kansas City is kind of, trending upwards after the Raiders game, which I could totally understand because if they lose to the Raiders, they'll be 5-5 and just like, I don't know about this. And then I think if they do lose, then I think he'll lean more towards the Packers. That's just my opinion. So, Jurg, since we start off with Dame, I'm going to start off with you on this one. What do you think about OBJ's decision and like how long he's essentially taking, to be honest?
Yeah, I think when we've seen the report today that he's waiting until Sunday, I think that lends credence to your point of that he's leaning to the Chiefs because I think the idea of going to the Chiefs to him if they're 6-4 is a lot better if they're 5-5, right? And even with Aaron Rodgers being out last week, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be out this week. If he is out this week, by the way, the Seahawks are definitely going to win that game because Jordan Love, dear God, he looked terrible. But on the moving on from that, yeah, I think that's the big thing. Odell wants to see what the Chiefs can do against this Raiders team because the Chiefs beating the Raiders, essentially, that gets them well back within the AFC West division lead hunt. And I haven't lost faith in that team in terms of the chance that they have to get back in the division. I think they can beat the Chargers when they rematch. I think they'll beat the Broncos both times. I think they'll beat the Raiders both times. Like, I think the Chiefs have the AFC West down packed, and if not, they'll get plenty of wins to the point where they'll confidently be a wildcard team. So I think it's like you said, Chris, Odell wants to be with a bona fide playoff team. Not to say the Browns can't be a playoff team this year, but we saw what was going on. And by the way, just to focus on the Browns for a second, like this is why there are questions about Baker Mayfield because his quarterback rating and his completion percentage to Odell were some of the worst in the league when it came to quarterback wide receiver connection. How his QBR and completion percentage was that bad in like the 50s in terms of rankings for QB to wide receiver connections, I have no idea how that Baker and Odell just couldn't get it together. I put it more on Baker personally, but once again, that's if Dame wants to continue that for his point, he can. But I think ultimately, with wherever Odell goes, he's going to go to a playoff team. He's going to just sign for this season. Like Odell's going to sign because the teams aren't going to want to sign him for too much because if they sign him for a certain amount, like if they overpay to get him, then they will have to pay a bit more of the contract compared to what Cleveland is with just straight releasing him. So he's not going to get anything more than just a contract to suffice for the rest of the season. And that's where the financials will be. So it's really all about where does he want to go? Does he want to go play with when Aaron Rodgers comes back, or does he want to go and try to help out the Chiefs' offensive problems with Patrick Mahomes right now? Because here's the thing with the Chiefs. If you've been watching their games, everyone seems to have figured out how to play the Chiefs. You just got to play too high safety on defense, and you're going to be fine because that's what the Bills did against them. That's what the Titans did against them. That's what the Packers did against them. That's what all these teams are doing. They're playing two high safeties on defense because the Chiefs are going for home run plays every single time, and they're not getting the home run plays this time around. Byron Pringle and Mecole Hardman, who a lot of people expected to have big years this year because they could both be deep threats, aren't really doing that good of a job. I think the two of them combined only have, I want to say, 3 touchdowns between them at this point of the season. That's atrocious when you're looking at it. Tyreek Hill, yes, he's still great. He's still going to have another 1,000-plus yard season. Same with Travis Kelce. But it hasn't been the same like game-breaking impact that we saw last year or the year before or in Mahomes' first season starting. Like, this is not the same Chiefs team of these last 3 years because of that. Because they haven't, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, they don't want to take what the defense is giving them. They don't want to run the ball more with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who is having a really bad year too. For himself personally, he looked like he was going to add another electric fold into this offense as a rookie, and they're just not using him the same at all. This offensive line has been relatively fine, but they still have some issues here and there. Like it feels like Mahomes is getting sacked a little bit more often this season than he was in previous years, and we saw what happened at the end of their playoff run last year. The offensive line is critical for helping Mahomes with time. That defense is another story. I don't think anything can help that defense, even if God himself came down and blessed all them with extra, I don't know, motivation, talent, whatever. That
They
defense,
have been a little better though, Jurg. Just a little bit
yeah, but
compared to where they were the last 3 weeks.
but look who they faced the last couple of weeks. It's
Yeah, it's a
Jordan
good point.
Love, like it. But irregardless, it's all about Odell here, and I think Odell at Kansas City makes a lot of sense. I think he wants the rejuvenation that is Patrick Mahomes, because here's why. While him and Green Bay would be great, because again, it's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers could fit a football through like a keyhole, like that's how accurate he is. Mahomes can do that too. And while it would be nice being across from Devontae Adams, I think the idea, and I think this is how Andy Reid and the Chiefs would scheme it, is that they're going to keep sending Tyreek Hill deep. Despite the fact that he could do so much more, Tyreek Hill is a deep threat like none other in this league. So they're going to keep sending him deep because they're going to eventually break a big play or two against these defenses and how they're playing them. But Odell and Travis Kelce are going to be so big because I think they're going to take turns being in the intermediate and slot routes of the field, because they can just line up Kelce in the slot and they can make Odell handle the intermediate stuff. And if they do it like that, while trying to get Clyde Edwards-Helaire a little bit more involved at least, I think the offense is going to start to play a lot better and start to look like the Kansas City Chiefs of old. And it feels weird to say that because literally of old means just last season. But what Odell can do is that he can start to make it where Mahomes will be confident enough to go into the intermediate parts, because when Tyreek Hill's going deep and when Travis Kelce's in the slot, who the heck does he have to throw it to? You know, Pringle, no. You know, Hardman, he's been an extreme disappointment. Now Odell, that makes it way more interesting, way more likely that he's going to want to throw it. So I think Odell can actually be the thing that this Chiefs offense needs to get back on track. And I wouldn't be surprised if they start to go on a big run here, win this Raiders game, sign Odell, get it going from there, and make a run here that reminds us like, oh, they are the two-time defending AFC champions for a reason. They won the Super Bowl just 2 years ago, and they want to go for more here. So I think Odell to the Chiefs makes a ton of sense, and that's it's not the number one place where I want to see him go, because the number one place where I want to see him go would just be like pure chaos, and people would have nightmares if I say it. So I won't for the people.
Who? Just say it.
It's because he already said they wouldn't do it, but I wish Odell would just go to Tampa just to just
Oh
screw
my
up everyone.
god.
I would have just loved it, and I think it could have actually worked out for the future as well. But just for the now, go to Kansas City, get with Mahomes, link up, get some good games, maybe make another run at a Super Bowl here for Odell, deepest playoff run of his career, and then he'll look a lot better in the eyes of everyone, because Cleveland ruined that dude. Like, I mean, the Giants kind of played a hand in it, but Baker did not do any good for Odell. Like that was just a terrible tenure to it. But hey, you go from Baker Mayfield to Patrick Mahomes, boys. Whew! Happy birthday, OBJ.
I think, Dane, before you go, I don't know, Jurg, him and Mahomes, that would be like, that for me is the number one, team that like I would love to see OBJ in, bro. Like like football is so much better when the Chiefs offense is just high octane and it's like on point. I think OBJ there would add another dimension. And before you talking about Edwards-Helaire, Jurg, and he's had like kind of a sus season. He has been hurt the last few weeks, so to his defense. But yeah, before that it was kind of suspect. But yeah, regardless, go ahead, Dame.
Yeah, clearly, like OBJ has a lot of options with like whereas the Patriots. I don't know why he would go there, but you have the Saints at home. Seahawks are always trying to improve. Packers, Chiefs, all these teams. But to me personally, I just think it should just come down to two options: the Packers or Chiefs. Like, throw away the Saints; they have no QB. Why do you want to deal with that again? Like, that's worse than Baker being a QB. You have the Patriots. I get it, Bill Belichick, the whole aura of the Patriots being a winning franchise. But again, at the end of the day, you have Mac Jones as your quarterback. Like, how much better, if at all, is he than Baker Mayfield? And Seahawks are going to be a number 3 receiver. Like, let's be honest, Odell is a little bit of drama king. Like, he needs his touches. He needs his work. Like, if he goes there and he gets 1 or 2 catches or 1 or 2 targets a game, like, he's not going to be happy whether they're winning or not. And let's be honest, like, it doesn't even look like the Seahawks might not even make the playoffs because of the record they have right now with Russell Wilson being out. So, comes down to Chiefs or Packers. Personally, if I was him, I would go to the Packers. I get the whole Chiefs thing, and I would personally like him to go to the Chiefs, but I'm speaking as if I was OBJ. The Packers just make the most sense. You clearly are the number 2 receiver behind Devontae Adams. 2 of the best route runners in the league. You have Aaron Rodgers, who is insanely accurate, more accurate than Mahomes, in my opinion. and obviously they're 7-2 or whatever they are, 7-1. You don't know about the Chiefs. You don't know if they're going to turn a corner or not. You know the Packers are there. You know they're going to be contender for the rest of the year, no matter what, as long as Aaron Rodgers is there and healthy. Obviously, I know he's played in Lambeau in that one playoff game where he was absolutely awful, but like the Packers are really good at home when it comes to the playoffs, so he's going to definitely have a chance to get to the Super Bowl as well. And it just comes down to the Packers, I think, end of the day, if they want to pay the money. That's what I read, that Odell's number one priority is the Packers, but it just comes down to if the Packers want him and they're going to pay him what he's asking for. And I don't really trust that to happen because the Packers just don't know what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball, especially in their skill positions. And I just don't think they like Aaron Rodgers very much, so why would they help him out? When it comes to the Chiefs, like obviously it's great for NFL, it's great for everybody to watch. Like put him in that offense, like Jurg mentioned, like people have started to figure out the Kansas City Chiefs. You put two safeties over the top, that's the way you limit Tyreek Hill. And then you kind of box in Travis Kelce in the middle of the field with two guys. The reason teams can do that on defense is because the Chiefs don't have a number two receiver that can go get open while Tyreek Hill is getting stopped over the top and Travis Kelce's getting boxed in the middle by two guys. You bring in Odell. Odell's another guy that could go deep. You can't put two safeties over the top of Odell and Tyreek because one-on-one coverage, both those guys are most of the time going to win. Odell's also very good at working the middle of the field, and if you have him work in the middle of the field, you're not going to be able to box in Travis Kelce. So I think adding Odell to that offense literally unlocks everything. Unlocks the middle of the field, unlocks the deep ball, unlocks everything. Their running game hasn't been that bad this year with Cloudler hurt. Even then, I think they've been pretty good. It's just when they're down, you can't really run the ball. You have to keep throwing. And it seems like Mahomes the past couple games hasn't been himself. Whether it's the yips or not, or just receivers not getting open, like that last throw kind of showed what Mahomes is. That was such a Mahomes-esque kind of throw to seal the game. And maybe that's going to get him going. Hopefully it does, because obviously watching Mahomes, who's the best quarterback in the league, I'm going to mention every week. Let's not get twisted. Mahomes is still the best. But yeah, adding a guy like OBJ could really unlock so much for that offense. Could get Tyreek Hill going, could get Travis Kelce going, could open up the running game, could help Mahomes out, just everything in general, especially if Chiefs are scoring so many points. It's going to be easier for that defense as well, which is obviously not very good. But if your offense is scoring so many points, then there's not that much pressure on the defense. So Chiefs and Packers are two great options. I personally, just to watch, I would like him go to the Chiefs, but I think it's in his best interest to go to the Packers.
Yeah, good takes, fellas. Very good takes. But again, Rodgers isn't vexed, so fuck him. So go to Mahomes, baby. Look, and if he goes to the Chiefs, I think the Chiefs go back to the Super Bowl. That's my take. It's my take. I might get crucified for it, but screw it. Give me a Chiefs Rams Super Bowl final, the final that we should have gotten 3 years ago. All right. Is there any other football news we should talk about?
No, that's the biggest one, honestly. Odell's decision making. Like Russ Wilson's coming back. Dame kind of mentioned it. Like, can he help make the difference and turn around their season? I don't know.
Well, I mean, they could fight for an NFC wildcard spot. I don't know. Like automatically, they have to, because the Rams and the Cardinals are basically a lock to go to the playoffs, right? One of them is gonna. I think the Cardinals look really good, man. They look really good. I don't know. Like I know it's like a common theme for like most of these regular season teams who like catch fire, who like do really well to kind of like we saw it with the Steelers last year. I think the Cowboys in 2016, the first year with Dak as like their starting QB.
Oh, and Zeke, yeah, Dak and rookie Zeke.
Yeah, it's just like they kind of falter in the playoffs. I mean, they had a bye week they had a bye in the first round, and they met the Packers, and the Packers won that game. But it's just like when these young teams like catch fire in the regular season, they go to the playoffs, they kind of like they don't get smacked around, but they lose, right? Because like that inexperience factor. But I don't know. Do you guys have faith in the Cardinals and like getting over that hump of being like a young team once the playoff comes? I know this is pretty early, but
I think they'll win a game. Like, I think the good thing about being the number one seed is that they get the lowest possible remaining seed. Now, granted, that might mean they're going to face the Rams in the playoffs, and if
I don't think they'll face the Rams.
No, they might if the Rams are the lowest remaining seed after the first round.
But do you think they'll be the lowest? Do you think that? I don't know.
I mean, so let's assume here. So in the NFC, the bye is the Cardinals. The matchups right now would be the Packers as the 2 seed versus the Falcons as the 7 seed, the Buccaneers as the 3 seed versus the Saints as the 6 seed, and the Cowboys as the 4th seed against the Rams as the 5th seed.
Rams
So,
are. Oh, I forgot. Yeah.
remember,
Yeah.
division
Never
winners
mind.
always get the top 4 spots. I mean,
That. Yeah.
and I could see the Rams beating the Cowboys. Not, and when I say easily, I don't mean that they would destroy them by 2 touchdowns.
Nah,
I
they
just
would
mean like
smack them.
I
No,
would
they
pick
would. They
them.
would.
Oh yeah, but yeah, like there's a chance here. Like the Cardinals' first round matchup could be a team that a lot of people are earmarking as a Super Bowl or bust this season because they made that trade for Von Miller, essentially clinching the fact that after they drafted Jared Goff, they got so much PTSD they don't want a draft pick in the first 3 rounds at all. So yeah, Cardinals. If it's Cardinals Rams, that's a tough one right there. So and it also all depends because right now Kyler, I think the next week or two, I wouldn't be surprised if Cliff Kingsbury and them rest him at one of the next 2 games because they're about to they actually face the Panthers this Sunday. So Cam Newton's first game back is going to be against the Cardinals, and then the week after that they are going to take on the Seahawks. So and that'll be the Seahawks after the Seahawks and Russ Wilson get a game in here against the Jordan Love Packers. So assuming that like I and funny enough, they faced the Bears after. So not necessarily the toughest 3-game stretch here for the Cardinals, but it also depends because after these 3 games, they're going to take on the Rams here. And that Rams-Cardinals game 2 is going to be the biggest game of the season because that's essentially going to decide who gets the advantage in the NFC
Yeah.
West race. So I think it all depends on how it plays out. I think we have to wait until that game to really give an indication here. But I think the Cardinals can win a game. It's just all about the matchup because if they do face the Rams, man, like Aaron Donald and Von Miller running at you, Jalen Ramsey, like in the playoffs, Jalen Ramsey becomes literally the best cornerback, like one of the best you've ever seen, because he shut down DK Metcalf last season. And a lot of people forget, like Devontae Adams early in that game last season between Green Bay and Los Angeles, Devontae Adams, like Jalen Ramsey was doing a pretty good job on him. Like the good cornerbacks in the league, they do their stuff. Jalen Ramsey is an elite cornerback. So at the end of the day, I think it's all on the matchup. But I think the Cardinals have it in them to win a game. They would just get super unlucky if it's the Rams because that team is going for it all this season.
Especially with the Von Miller trade.
I mean, I'm still the same on the Cardinals. Like, I just have to wait and see. They're still young, but they've been impressive. Like, especially winning that game without Kyle Murray. But obviously, playoffs are a lot different, especially when it's your first time in the playoffs. So, still waiting to see on them. I'm still heavy on the Rams coming out the NFC or the Bucks.
Right. I have a question. Kind of make this like the last thing because the biggest thing that I brought from this, the Bills, because Chris Sims.
Oh yes, I forgot. I was gonna. Oh, Jurg,
So-
thank you. That was in my notes.
So my thing is Chris Sims, who works I think for CBS if I'm not mistaken. I listen to him whenever he goes on other podcasts from time to time, and recently he said on a pod that he's before the Jacksonville game. So this aired before the Jacksonville game. He mentioned that he was starting to get worried about the Bills' offense because the super slow start they had against Miami, the fact that they couldn't seal the deal against the Titans. He was starting to get worried that the Bills were going to head into one of these games and their offense was just going to look like a complete disaster. Like that they were going to have that bad offensive game. Little did we know that game would be against Urban Meyer and the freaking Jacksonville Jaguars, aside from the aneurysm that the announcers got from saying Josh Allen versus Josh Allen the entire game. The Jaguars held the Buffalo Bills, who are led by Josh Allen, who last season a lot of people thought was the MVP. Josh Allen, who got paid a bunch of money this offseason, held him to 264 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns, stifled that running game, which really the Bills have no running game aside from when Josh Allen chooses to run. Like, that offense was super bad. And to do that, if they had done that against a good team, like, okay, they'll bounce back. They just got unlucky from a good team. They did that to Jacksonville. Like, that's not good at all. So, Chris, like, say, lead us into the convo more. But like, what were you gonna say about the Bills?
Well, yeah, they were. Yeah, I thank you for reminding me. We're gonna skip over that. Yeah, so that loss to the Jaguars was, I think, flipped a lot of people's perception of this team. Not completely, obviously. Like, they're still good. But didn't they have a game? Was it against the Dolphins like a few weeks ago or before the Jaguars where they were kind of sus too?
It was the Dolphins game. Yeah, they ended up winning the game 26-11, but that is a very misleading box score because
Yes,
For the
yes.
first 3 quarters, it was awful. It was
Yeah.
like 3-0 or something like that.
It was 3-3 at halftime, and the Bills didn't score their touchdown until like late in the third quarter. Like they walked in the fourth quarter leading 10-3, and then after another Josh Allen pass that essentially ended it. But like that was not a good performance at all by that offense. And like the Dolphins have been terrible this season, so you can't say that was a key victory for the defense either.
And also, like, I think after the Chiefs win for the Bills, we're just like, okay, this is the team going to the Super Bowl, right? This is the team to beat in the AFC, right? It's like, okay, so it's not the Chiefs anymore, it's the Bills. Josh Allen, picked. He also, like, I think the first game, they've lost in the first game to the Steelers. We're just like, oh man, Josh Allen. Back to like the first few years, Josh Allen. Then he picked it up, of course. Then he's on this high. Then he's back on this low again. Now I don't know. It's just the Bills are a wild card, and not like legit wild card. But I'm talking about like a really good team. But when push comes to shove, you don't know what's gonna happen. You like I don't know. I'm not a huge Bills fan. I like Josh Allen a lot. I think he does get shat on a little bit too much by the media, but I don't know. Can you trust the Bills? Because don't forget, Jurg. Was it for? Yeah, they didn't have a bye, so they played the Colts last year in the first round of the NFL playoffs. They
Yeah.
almost lost that game.
And I remember I freaking said that the Colts would come within a throw of winning that game because the Bills' rushing defense was so bad, and Jonathan Taylor and Naheem Hines ran all over them that day.
You don't want to get too over your heads because like you seem like the team to beat, but like when you're losing to the Jaguars, they didn't even get a touchdown against the Jaguars, bro. Like Josh Allen, who's like has this crazy arm, just couldn't find anyone, bro. I don't know. Again, it's one of those lucky weeks for the Jags. I get it, and I know a lot of people's parlays were effed up because of it, but not a good look. Dame, do you want to say something about him?
No, I wasn't high on the Bills to start the season, especially Josh Allen specifically. Like I always said they were going to win the division and stuff, but I just didn't think he was worth that money in that contract. I thought they should have waited a year. And so far, he's been inconsistent. Like he's not. You don't know what QB you're getting every single week, and especially this week. This was extremely bad. Like all these turnovers and all these sacks he took, he just didn't look at all anywhere near being worth that contract. So it's still a lot of season left to go. You can obviously turn it around, but it's extremely concerning for not only the Bills but Josh Allen specifically.
They're half a game above the Patriots.
Yeah.
Like what? Wow. All right. I mean, yeah.
And they were supposed to run away with this division for the next 5 to 10 years. Like after the Patriots' long run, the Bills were supposed to do this, and now they're not. And good old Bill Belichick running up with McCorkle Jones is only a half game back, and just and that was such a bad loss for them. It was just so bad. By the way, the funniest thing about that loss, that was the first Jacksonville Jaguar win in North America since week 1 of last season. Because remember, they won their first game in London this year. Like that was the first time that the Jags won on North American soil since week 1 of last year. My God.
All right. Last thing I want to ask you guys for football talk. AFC West. Everyone is neck and neck with each other. Chargers, Raiders, Chiefs, Broncos. Everyone is within. So Chargers and Raiders are tied 5-3. Chiefs and Broncos tied 5-4. Who do you guys think takes the division? We don't have to go too long with this. Just who do you think? A brief log line of like why you think.
I think, dang, it all depends because the Chargers, they're so weird, man. Like they had that blowout loss against the Ravens, kind of like skewed me on them because I think like they could lose that kind of game again. So I wouldn't be surprised.
And they barely beat the Eagles.
I mean, I will give them the slightest of edges only because 2 games on their schedule that really favor them are the Giants and the Texans. Like those are 2 big freebie games. I think the Chiefs have run out of all their freebie games on their schedule. So like on paper, I got to give the Chargers because they have the easier remaining schedule compared to the Chiefs. But if the Chiefs can win this Sunday, that might change things. But for now, tentatively, I'll pick the Chargers for that.
I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. I still believe they could turn it around, especially this week. This is gonna be a really, really important game for them. They're still not gonna be first place if they do win, depending on what happens with the Chargers. But at the end of the day, even after all this stuff that's going on with them, if the Chargers lose to the Vikings, which Manning curse, Justin Herbert was on the Manning thing on Monday, and the Chiefs obviously beat the Raiders, they're gonna be in first place after all this stuff that's been going on with them. So I'm just going to believe in the best quarterback in the league, and I'm gonna go with the Chiefs too in that division.
Okay, I'm also going with the Chiefs. And now, sorry, Jurg. Yeah, AFC North. Ravens 6-2, Steelers 5-3, Browns and Bengals 5-4. Guys, I think the Bengals are back down to earth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We expected, we didn't expect them to go, be like a like one of those elite teams yet, right? They had a good start to the season, but they lost to the Jets and they lost to the Browns, I believe. So they're back down to earth. They're already tied for last place, but because that division's so tough, can't make too much of it. But yeah, guys, who do we think takes the division here? I think we're gonna go with the Ravens, but
Yep.
whoever comes in second place from the AFC North is gonna be in my opinion, is gonna be a wild card contender as well.
Right.
Right. So Steelers, I think, have been looking decent lately. So it could be them. Browns, who knows? After this whole OBJ fiasco has been finished, maybe they focus. So I mean, Dame, let me start off with you. Who do you think? Who do you think takes this division? I think we could all agree it's Ravens, but who do you think takes this division, and who do you think comes in second for this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna have the Ravens winning the division. Watching the Ravens, you kind of don't know what you're getting every week. Thought this was gonna be another one of those clunkers this week, but they turned it around and came back. But they've been really up and down. But like the division, if the Bengals after losing to just after that game, they just look bad. Like who they lose, I forgot who they lost to this week. Like it didn't look good. Um, and the Steelers, like I said, they suck. Ben sucks, and then the Browns, like I just don't trust Baker enough to win the division. I do think they'll beat a wild card team. I think they're better without OBJ. I think it's like the subtraction with whatever that saying is, addition with subtraction or something like that. But I think they're better without him because of the drama. Baker doesn't feel the need to force the ball. They can actually run the ball the way the team is built to do. And I think that's the key to their winning games is running the ball and not having Baker throw the ball 30 times a game. So Ravens, just based off, they're just the best team in my opinion in that division. And then Browns, I think they're gonna be better without OBJ. So I think they'll beat a wild card, but I don't think they'll be the division winner.
Fair enough. Yeah. Spoiler alert: I have the Ravens. I just think Lamar is, yes, it's on and off sometimes, but there have been moments where when he's needed to step up that Chiefs game, that game against the Vikings, like he pulls up big time for them. So I have the Ravens winning the division because even with every single team being inconsistent, the difference is that who has the best quarterback in it? The Ravens do, and Lamar Jackson is kind of reigniting maybe a dark horse MVP case for himself if he could really have a good second half of the season. Like he's put up some big performances this season when this team's needed to. Like he's put up MVP type performances. So I think the Ravens get the edge for me because what Lamar does for that offense is so good. My second place team, if I had to pick one, I would pick the Browns because I have such vitriol for the Steelers. Fuck that team. Fuck Big Ben. I want them to lose every game for the rest of the season.
Let's go. We got Rage Jurg. Nice.
I don't like that organization at all. And the Bengals, look, I give the Bengals all the respect in the world. I called them a good team like a week or two ago. I still think they are good, but they're flawed. And I think their flaws are a bit more pronounced than the Browns. And I don't think the Bengals are to that point where they could hide their flaws as well yet. The Browns have a little bit more talent, especially on defense when you have a game wrecker in Myles Garrett. Baker, if he starts playing well after OBJ, like, I don't know what's wrong with you, Baker, but sure, we'll go with that. And that two-headed beast running game that they have, I just got to give the Browns a little bit of favor. So if I had to pick my top two from there, I got the Ravens winning it, but I got the Browns as my second place team there / wild card.
Nice. All right. Okay. Let's done with football talk. Move on over to the NBA. Now this one will be another free-for-all discussion. Let's just talk about some surprises, some disappointments. That's what we're here to do. Yeah, Simmons has not been traded yet. There's been noise about maybe the Celtics. That's probably not going to happen. I don't know what other trade rumors are out there. Is there anything trade rumors wise?
Nah, no trades.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That'll come down the line. All right. Start off with the Eastern Conference, fellas. Let's just talk about some teams that are conversation starters. Okay. Celtics are 5-6. I don't think a lot of us, I think me more so than you guys, had a little bit of higher expectations for them. But generally, the consensus was, we didn't have the highest of expectations for them.
Yeah, the Celtics have been really struggling, man. And like Tatum, you got to hold him at least a little bit accountable because he's supposed to be the guy on that team. So
yeah,
him not playing that great. Marcus Smart has been terrible.
Yeah,
this
and they
season.
they had like an in-team meeting, right?
When you need to have a players only meeting like 10
2
games into the
weeks. Yeah.
season, like just God, man.
Because Marcus Smart wants the ball more. That's a problem.
Well, no, I'll say this. I'll say this. So he had that post game interview where he was just like, they need to learn how to pass the ball. Okay, so what I'm going to say to that is that I kind of understand where he's coming from because the game plan is obvious. Yeah, they're their two best players, and like the ball's going to them. That's just common knowledge. But I do think like you could implement some like different offensive schemes that include a little bit more ball movement. However, the issue I have, and this is the issue I had with Michael Porter Jr. when he said that in the bubble with the Nuggets, and yeah, they turned it around after he said that. But these are things that you have to keep in like behind closed doors. Like Marcus Smart could easily just say that to the guys, without just telling the media that. Like, yeah, it's a problem, but it's like, why do you have to like go public with it? Because everyone ran the ball with it, and it's just like, yeah, we had a players only meeting, and then like, oh, they beat the Magic, and then they turned it around. It's like, wait, but it's just the Magic. But then they beat the Heat, and it's just like, okay, so maybe it's working, but I don't know. They're flawed, man, and I do think their lack of like they need a point guard. I like Marcus Smart, but he's not it, and Dennis Schroeder sure as hell ain't it. So I don't know. They're just they're a sus team because they could either be really good or they could be underwhelming, right? There's nowhere in between. Hornets, after me sucking them off after like a 5-1 start, have fallen back to earth. Um, Miles Bridges looks like top three. He's going to be a finalist for most improved player. LaMelo Ball's looking like a star. Good for them. But I don't know what happened, man. Well, like I haven't seen like too much of the games. I saw them against the Lakers, but they're playing the Lakers, so I don't know if I could give you like a good.
They struggled on the thing is they struggled on their West Coast road trip at the end of the day. They went 0 for 5 on their
Yeah,
excuse me, 1 for 4 on their West Coast road trip, and really the only bad loss was giving up 140 points to the Sacramento Kings because like while the Hornets started out hot, they were going to hit a wall eventually, and I can expect them losing to Golden State, the Lakers and the Clippers, and they played the
yeah.
Lakers to overtime. So it took a miraculous shot by Melo too, for the Lakers to even force and win that game. So like those games I understand, but the loss just before that road stretch to Cleveland, I don't like. That Kings loss is not good, and they bounce back a little bit here with the Grizzlies, but now you're in a stretch where you're going to face the Knicks, the Warriors again, and what the hell is going on in Washington?
Well,
They're
we'll talk about that. We'll talk
Right,
about
but
that.
I'm just saying, like the Hornets, like yes, it's they've cooled off after a hot start, but like there's a chance here where maybe they needed that West Coast road trip to rough them up a little bit, and I don't think they came out of it unscathed. If I'm not mistaken, PJ Washington missed like 2 or 3 games on it as well, and he's important to that team. So
They're young. Their veteran guys have been a little. They've been struggling a little bit. Like Rozier and Hayward. It's just I think they've scored, but like I don't know. I think the younger guys are like kind of propelling them like way more. Like LaMelo and Bridges are carrying the load, right? And if like your $120 million man in Hayward isn't, you know, playing up to expectations, which we all kind of predicted he wouldn't, and Terry Rozier just got paid, I believe, this soft season. Underwhelming, man. Underwhelming. So I think it's a little bit too much of like a weight on like LaMelo and Bridges' shoulders if they want to go to the playoffs because I believe they can. If everything's on point for them, I think they're a playoff seed. Uh, let's see. Raptors, I think started off sus. They picked it up, and then I think they lost a few games recently. But again, it's the Raptors. I think we all think that they are. We had them as a play-in team on the Lost Files, but if they I think they could be a playoff team, like maybe a 6 seed contending for it. So I think they're that good defensively. Scotty Barnes looks like a stud, bro. A
Studs.
right,
stud. So
Absolutely.
clearly, a lot of people shat on him. A lot of people shat on the Raptors because they didn't pick Suggs. They knew something we didn't. I think we know better not to like question the
Masai
Raptors.
Ujiri, that
Yeah,
that that dude knows.
he
Like
knows. He knows. And I never hated the pick, but I was just like, oh, maybe they need a point guard. I was like Van Fleet at the 2, but then again, you put Gary Trent at the 2. Scotty Barnes he's looking like the right pick. So that's that. All right, let's talk about. This is the one I wanted to talk about. Well, actually, no. Hold up. Sorry. Cavs are 7-5. I know the Cavs are the Cavs, but I believed like before the season, I was like, I want to believe they can't be that bad because I think Mobley is one of the more NBA ready players. Jared Allen, at the 5. So I'm like, okay. And then you put Isaac Okoro at the 3. I think Isaac Okoro has been hurt. But Mobley and Allen have been stupendous for them, man. That front court looks legit, bro. The Knicks were struggling. The Knicks couldn't get any rebounds on those guys, man. So I think it's a good combination of like size, but also Mobley could kind of shoot, so he could spread the floor a bit, and he's a really good passer. Sexton is out, I believe. I don't know for how long, but with the torn meniscus, Jurg. So that's a huge blow to them, in my opinion, because
Right.
he's a big scorer for them. I think Darius Garland is taking the leap as a scorer and a playmaker. Ricky Rubio is a winning player. He has shifted that team. Damian, you can shut up.
Here
You
we
know
go.
it. You know it. Rubio's a winning player. I'm telling you, they
Just
look
because he
way
had
better.
55 against the Knicks doesn't mean he's a winning
No,
player. He's just a
Jurg,
guy.
can you help me out on this? This isn't me showing Rubio bias.
What team has he won on?
Utah.
Oh my God!
And then they
Utah.
got better when he went to Phoenix. The Suns got better when he went to Phoenix.
Why they trade him away?
Because Chris Paul's coming. Obviously, you make that
Oh,
trade.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
look,
How much did they win in Phoenix? with him, though?
Everything. The Suns
How
were
much
still
did they
the
win in
Suns before
Minnesota?
Paul came, man. I don't
I,
want to hear it.
They didn't
I
win.
will say,
He
I
is
will
a
not a
say,
winning
difference
player,
maker.
man.
He is a difference maker. They look so
He's
much more
not.
organized on offense
He's just
because
a
of them.
guy. He's just
Oh
a
my
guy.
God. Jurg, help me out here, please.
I think
Don't be afraid to show
Ricky
bias
Rubio,
here.
Ricky Rubio is a guy who I will admit I have gone back and forth on, and I gotta say, like the thing with Ricky Rubio that you don't realize is that he's played on a lot of shitty organizations in his career. He started out in Minnesota, and God knows what that organization is. They started out 3-1, and they've lost like 5 or 6 in a row. Going to Cleveland, excuse me, he was in Phoenix for a bit. Yes, I know the Suns did move on from him, but who doesn't move on from Chris Paul? Like 75% of the point guards in the league would have gotten traded with Chris Paul coming back the other way. And he helped in Utah. He helped Donovan Mitchell there. And again, at least to the Jazz, like you fall in love with names. You fall in love with Mike Conley and Chris Paul before Ricky Rubio. Like that's a given. And that's no slight to Ricky Rubio. Those guys just have bigger names than him. But when you look at what he does for teams when he actually gets a chance, like Ricky Rubio can help your team perform better. He's not going to be a negative to you. And I guess he'll put out a game here where he just goes like 9 for 9 and looks like prime Ray Allen from the 3-point line because dear God, he torched the Knicks in a game. But Ricky Rubio does help that team. I don't think it can be discounted what he's providing for them as a veteran, especially like as a mentor to Darius Garland, because Garland is the more playmaker between himself and Sexton. And now maybe Rubio could score a little bit more of Colin Sexton being out. Like that, Ricky Rubio helps that team. Like he is going to help that team perform a lot better than what they were. And I'm kind of with you, Chris. Like I didn't expect I was about to say the Browns, dear God, the Cavaliers. I did not expect the Cavaliers to be the same old Cavaliers where it's like, oh, they're going to lose like 20 games in a row here. Like I actually have some expectations. The Cavaliers this season with some of the talent, they should strive to be a 500 team this year. They really should. Like, and I think it's pretty realistic. This could be the first time that they have been 500 without LeBron James on the team since maybe the 90s. I think that was the last time. But that aside, a quick shot at Cleveland there really fast. Like Ricky Rubio does help that team. That team's looking nice. Jared Allen, I love that trade when they made it. He's such a good big man. And I think him and when Isaac Okoro is back healthy, like the defense that they provide is big. Evan Mobley, like him and Scotty Barnes are the top 2 for Rookie of the Year right now because they're both performing so well. So I got to give it to what's going on in Cleveland. Like they're making it work out there, and hey, good for them that they're in this position at this point in the season, and maybe low key like a 10th seed
Playing?
contender later in the season. Like I think so. Like hey, 10th seed counts as a playoff team now. So I like if you tell me the Cavaliers are going to be the 10th seed at the end of the season, I'm like, you know what, a little bit higher than I thought, but good for Cleveland. You know what, good for Cleveland.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to them. You love seeing teams make a jump, right? Okay, let's talk about these 2 teams because we want to move on over to the West. Oh, there's actually another team in the East I want to talk about. We'll talk about the Wizards and the Bulls. So I know I'm gonna catch a lot of flack for this because I was lower on the Bulls than.
Do not stand down, Chris. Let them know.
No. Hear me out. Yeah. I'm like Jon Snow in Game of Thrones in the Battle of the Bastards. You guys, I mean, everyone knows what I'm talking about besides you guys. So the Bulls are 8-3. They've had a really good start. And you know what? They look better than I expected. And I think Alex Caruso is a huge difference to that team. And I think because of Patrick Williams, I think is out for the season. Alex Caruso is like the primary defender now. Leads the league in steals, I think 2.6. Lonzo's been good. However, this is the beginning of the season. 8-3, everything looks peaches. I want to see what's going to happen as the season progresses. And you know what? It's maybe like that might be a cop-out answer because like, yo, you could say that about a lot of teams, but I'm like, no. This is an 8-3 team. I don't know if I trust DeRozan going forward. I don't know. Vucevic has clearly the one that has to sacrifice a lot on the offensive end. I trust Zach LaVine. Lonzo Ball, while being one of the best defenders and being their primary playmaker, who looks really good in this team right now. He looks like he could be like himself. Lonzo's like the primary playmaker. He's breaking out of his shell finally. I don't know. I still have my reservations. They look good now. But I expect the Nets to come back up. I expect Philly to come back up once Embiid and Harris are healthy. By the way, those two really, I really hope they're going to do better because they're symptomatic, I believe, from the COVID illness. The Heat are going to pick it up. The Bucks are going to pick it up. So, Bulls, have fun. You had some really impressive wins against the Nets and the Jazz. So, shout out to you. But I'm going to still be on your ass. I'll take the Heat for now. I will take the Heat. Because right now, I'm not looking too good. But again, you did lose to the Knicks. So,
Three game stretch coming up against the Warriors, Clippers, and Lakers, and then Portland. It's a 5-game West Coast road trip because they finished with the Nuggets. Let's see how they do in that 5-game trip. If they go like 3-2 or 4-1, I'll take them more seriously. If they have anything below 500, then I will gladly beat the drum for us of, hey, Bulls, good team, not great.
Yeah, sorry, time for a dialogue. All right, Wizards 8-3. This is another team that I actually had higher expectations for before the season started. Because I was a fan of the roster construction and their depth. You have Bradley Beal, that's your main guy, and then you surround him with a bunch of like shooters and like 3-and-D guys. So Daniel Gafford, in my opinion, is a very impressive young center. Kuzma, I think we shit on Kuzma a lot, but he's actually a really good defender. I think Kuzma's a really good individual defender, and he's a really good rebounder too. It's just, it's Kyle Kuzma at the end of the day. But KCP looks really good too. Montrezl Harrell, man, huge addition for them. He looks like the Montrezl Harrell from the Clippers. So he's been a boost for them off the bench. Rui Hachimura is coming back. You have Davis Bertans. Then you have Dia. I just think they're deep, man, and I really like what they've done with their roster. It's just they have like an identity too. It's kind of like these 3-and-D type of players, but with like more depth. So I don't know. Do you guys have anything to say about the Wizards specifically? They're not gonna stay first place, and I think like the Bulls, they're gonna fall back too. But I do think they're a team that I think can maintain a little bit more consistency than the Bulls. What do you guys think?
I just hopefully think they're ass. I just want Bradley Beal out of there. I want him to go on a team that he could actually win and he could contribute to, because obviously if the Wizards keep winning and stay like this, like he's gonna be like, oh, maybe this team could win. We're just a piece away or something like that. Or some bullshit like that. And I just don't want to be there because obviously even if they keep this up, they're not going to be a real contender and they're not actually going to win playoff series or playoff games, anything at all. So I personally want them to fall off, and I think they will because this is just not sustainable. But yeah, it's a wait and see.
Yeah, I see this team more in the mold of, and I forget which year it was, but there was a year during the Big Three Heat era where the Utah Jazz started out like 15-5, but missed the playoffs. So I akin this team more to that, where I think they'll have a good start, but like midway through the season, we'll really see. And I mean, you mentioned the depth, Chris. Like, while I do like the depth, I viewed this team as more of a, oh my God, so many good pieces to sell off at the deadline. Like, if the Wizards play this right, they should collect a Pelican/Thunder type of treasure trove of picks when these guys make it to the deadline, because you can easily convince a contender to give up a first round pick for Montrezl Harrell right now. You can easily convince a contender to give up a first rounder or a couple seconds for a KCP and guys like that. Like, you can get pieces back for these guys like that. That's what I like about this Wizards team, and of course it's the crown jewel of Bradley Beal there as well. At the end of the day, like, you can get a good chunk back for him as well. So this Wizards team is in potential for when it's time to rebuild, because like Dame said, they're going to convince themselves, if they're still doing good about the trade deadline, that they're a piece or two away, and they're going to overpay, and they're going to flame out in the playoffs if they make it that far, and they're going to get swept by one of the real teams in the league. Let's be real here. So at the end of the day, that's what I see from this Wizards team. Like, look, Bradley Beal, I care about you. I do. Don't fall for it. Get out of there.
Yeah, I don't. Last team I want to talk about in the East, because there's not a lot of teams talking about in the West. They'll pick it up. They've started off the season bad. They're 4-8 right now, I believe. Yeah, 4-8.
The Hawks.
The Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young came out with a quote recently that said, not word for word, but this is the gist of it. Yeah, so it's kind of hard to like, make the regular season interesting. It's kind of boring in the regular season. Like playoffs is when it gets interesting. Mans makes the playoffs once and he's LeBron James all of a sudden. How about you get to the playoffs first? Like you actually need to like win in the regular season right now. It's 4-8. I know you'll probably like make the playoffs, but let's tone it down a bit, Trae Young. You just got there. I don't want to hear it right now. You can't be talking like you're some like 15-year vet who's been to the playoffs every year of his career right now. Maybe down like going forward you will, but so far, let's take it easy. And with the way your team is performing to start the season, not the best quote to have, in my opinion. Yeah, fuck the Hawks, fuck Trae Young. That's all I got to say about it. But they'll pick it up. I think we all agree. All right, West. Not too many teams to talk about, but these are the teams I do want to talk about. Let's talk about the Lakers first. So they had an impressive win against the Heat. LeBron James is out right now. We don't know the timetable for his
Such
return.
a mysterious injury, bro. Like
I
I don't
think
even know what it is.
I think it's not an injury to like mess around with. Like I don't think it's something you could rush with because again, LeBron is kind of old now. He's human now with the injuries. So like it's not one I remember reading it. I was like it's not one that you can't f around with. So don't bring him back too early. Just have Russ and Anthony Davis hold it down for a bit. Slowly but surely they're going to get healthier. But they're 7-5 right now. Man, their defenses look so bad, guys. So bad. Like their offense will be fine in my opinion, but geez, I don't know. Dame, I mean, all right, well, you're not the Lakers fan, I get it, but still, talk to me. You're clearly the more invested in the Lakers out of all three of us. What do you think about this team so far?
I mean, basically say this every week. It's just I'm not gonna be concerned about anything I see in the first half of the season. The first half of the season is all for them to just mesh and gel together and get their chemistry going. Obviously it's gonna be hard because LeBron's out and he's a big part of them really getting their chemistry together. It's obviously different if you're just playing with Russ and AD, and then when you add LeBron to it, it's a whole different dynamic. But as for the defense, that's something that is concerning because although you do need chemistry to play defense. Like I know people might not think that, but just knowing how to rotate, how to talk to each other, what guys like to do, what guys don't like to do, like that's important as well. But the defense is they just need to show more effort in my opinion. Like they have the kind of players that they need to play defense. Like I think Bazemore's a pretty good defender on the wing. Anthony Davis could be a defensive player of the year if he really wants to. Especially if he plays center. Like he's been playing center a lot more lately. Maybe that's why they've been winning a few more games. But Anthony Davis should definitely continue to play center. But like I said, they definitely have the players to make the defense work. But it's about the effort and it's about the chemistry. So I'd like to show more effort. But on the offensive side of the ball, like you said, like I'm not really concerned. Like their fast break offense is probably the best in the league with Russell Westbrook guarding it, and now LeBron comes back. Like that's not really something you need to work on. The half court offense still needs work. Still guys need to know what guys like to do, what works, what doesn't. But that's still a wait and see thing. Like more time goes by, the better they'll get. But I'm not concerned about this Lakers team. It was an extremely impressive win against the Heat. I thought they were going to get absolutely blown out because of how good I think the Heat are and how bad I think the Lakers are now. But yeah, I'm not concerned. It's just a wait and see. I think they'll get better as the season goes on the offensive end and defensive end.
Shout out Malik Monk too. All right, go ahead, Jurg.
Yeah, when it comes to the Lakers this season, like this whole first half of the year, things are not going to look good. They're going to have some rough offensive times. They're going to have trouble closing games. Well, apparently they're just never going to be able to close against the Oklahoma City Thunder. If the OKC Thunder were making the playoffs this year and they face the Lakers, I think we have a closer series than we think. But in all seriousness, yeah, like Dame said, this is this by the tee to the book. Every LeBron James team, like this is the case. Even when he's not out there, like this is the case with the team. Like they need to get used to playing with one another. Guys need to understand. Russ needs to get his role. He needs to know his role and shut his mouth and just understand what he has to do to help this team win and not to drop some of these games. Because a better game here and there by him. They're 7-5 right now. They could be 9-3, and they could be right there up to the top of the standings with the Warriors above the Suns. So it's just something that they need to get used to. And again, I always stress this: like when you can eat on weaker teams, like they're going to face the Timberwolves next, and then they face the Spurs, who the Spurs I'm never going to count out, but they're only 4-7 to start. Shout out to DeJounte Murray, who's playing great this season, by the way. Could be an all-star off the bench. I think after those two games, it'll be intriguing because after the Wolves and the Spurs, you got them against the Bulls at home. Then they're going to be on the road against the Bucks and the Celtics. And then a couple weeks from now, Tuesday the 23rd, they take on the Knicks in MSG on TNT. LeBron's probably going to be back for that game, more likely than not. So yeah, let's wait and see.
Of course he
But
is.
yeah,
Nick's gonna spank them.
but
I don't know about that.
I really want to see like how this Lakers team, like they just need the rest of this month and then December as well. They're gonna get it together. They're gonna be fine. And like you said, Chris, with LeBron James, he's gonna take his time. This injury kind of reminds me of the one his first year back in Cleveland when he had that back thing and he sat out for like a good 2 to 3 weeks and everyone thought he'd come back sooner. And look what happened when he came back. He was refreshed, ready to go. He went on like a tear. Like the first 10 games back from those 2 weeks, he averaged like something like 29, 9, and 8. Something like that. So at the end of the day, the Lakers will be fine. They'll get things going. Like this feels like I don't want to invoke his name because this guy's Chris is not a fan of him right now in the other sport, but RELAX, relax, everyone, relax. LeBron James and his team will rear their heads come April and go on a playoff run. It's inevitable, as some would say.
Yeah. All right, last team to talk about. Warriors are 10-1. Are they the team to beat in the West? How impressed are we without Clay and Wiseman? Jurg, talk to me. How impressed are you with the Warriors? Do you think this success will maintain throughout the whole season? Are they the team to beat in the West? Now, based on what you've seen and based on what you expect with Clay and Wiseman coming back.
I'm thoroughly impressed by what the Golden State Warriors have done to this point. Steph has been phenomenal. Jordan Poole is great. Like 17.8 points per game. He's a candidate for most improved player of the year. Andrew Wiggins is looking better, than I expected from him. So I got to give him some credit there. Still mainly just scoring, only a couple of rebounds here and there, and does nothing else for them aside from that. Well, he's decent on defense. But Wiggins is doing his thing. Damian Lee for this team off the bench in 9 games, he has just shy of 12 points. They're hitting threes. Draymond Green gets to just play the role of rebounding and playmaker again. He has 8.2 rebounds, 7.2 assists, leading them in blocks. And this team has a couple guys who are shooting relatively well, such as Bjelica. Otto Porter's been solid for them off the bench. Kevon Looney is their big man. He's doing fine. This team is just playing so well, and when they get Clay back, it's going to be intriguing because the dynamic is going to change when Clay is going to have to start again because eventually, not once he gets back right away, but like they're going to give him 5 to 7 games to get back into it, get in the rhythm, then he'll be starting again. How Jordan Poole will adjust to coming off the bench now and leading the second unit, I think will be intriguing, but I think he'll be able to do that with how good he's looked. And just, Steve Kerr, like all the doubts that people have had about Steve Kerr, look at what happens when he's got his guy back. And this team, he's going to work with the young guys. Wiseman's going to get back in there. I think he'll be fine. He just has to help with Kevon Looney, get the rebounds, he's tall, get a block here and there at least for the team. Yeah, man, this Warriors team is great. Now, team to beat, I think, is a different convo because I don't want to say someone's a team to beat 10, 11 games in because I think there's going to be the time where currently this team will dip a little bit because everyone plays back down to earth eventually, well, except for Steph Curry. But all the other guys are going to play back down to earth eventually. They're going to have to adjust when Clay first comes back. Guys are going to have to get used to that. They're not always going to get all the shots they want when he's back. But I think if any team can get past those issues, I think this iteration of the Warriors can. The team chemistry just looks sublime. It looks beautiful. Steph is being the guy right now. I think if you had to pick an MVP in the league, it would be him. And yeah, this team is just looking so good, so dynamic. I'm not going to say they're the team to beat because I don't think anyone has separated themselves as the team to beat. But if you did have to pick someone, I would pick the Warriors. But I will say this. A healthy LeBron and AD in the playoffs against this Warriors team, like that needs to happen now. So I'm going to be very disappointed.
Sweet.
I don't care if the league needs to rig it. I don't care. Like, get this as the Western Conference Finals, and let's make some money, boys.
I mean, me personally, I'm extremely impressed with the Warriors. I thought they were going to be good. I think I was the only one that had them as a top 4 seed between us. But I did not think they were going to be this good. Like, they look like they're going to be maybe a top 2, even if the number 1 seed. Everything's gelling for them. Like, they're shooting great. They're playing great defense. They're healthy, of course. That's the main part with Clay still coming back. It's extremely impressive what they're doing, especially Steph Curry. Like you said, he's probably an MVP leading candidate right now. Obviously, 11 games in, like you said, you can't really say they're the team to beat because there's still so much season to go. And they have played a pretty easy schedule so far, but to their credit, they're taking care of business. Like, you can't really come at them for taking care of business and beating the teams that they should. So they should come back to earth when they start playing better teams, and they'll probably even out. They're not going to go 10-1 every 11 games or whatever. But extremely impressed with what they're doing. I do think they're going to somewhat continue it. they'll definitely be a team to be reckoned with come the playoffs. To that last point you made, if they face the Lakers and the Lakers have figured it out, it's gonna be a nice easy series for the Lakers. They have no one to guard LeBron, or AD in that case. But yeah, there it is. That's what I think of the Warriors.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be nice and easy, but
yeah,
that'll be it for this week, fellas. Amazing job as always. Lots to talk about. Jurg, where can they find us on the socials, bud?
Guys, you already know it's the SomeWhatSports IG page. As always, there you could get our weekly NFL picks that we put up. I just barely won last week because I had enough differences in our predictions. So yay me. I think we've all won 3 weeks now, if I'm not mistaken. Something along those lines. But yeah, it's SomeWhatSports. We're slowly getting up to, we're close to 85 followers. We want to get to 90. And then, of course, the big century mark, the big Benjamin 100 itself. So keep following us there. And the YouTube channel, of course, it's Somewhat, put a space, and then sports. Tell everybody, y'all. Tell everybody. We want to grow on YouTube. We want to grow on IG. Tell your friends. Tell your significant others. Tell your ex-significant others, if they like sports, give them as a parting gift. You want to end the relationship on good terms. You want to have closure. Give them the best sports podcast going around right now. That is the Somewhat Sports Podcast.
Jesus Christ, Jurg. Jesus, what a selling pitch. Yeah, what he said. Yeah, definitely. Well, to all the listeners, thank you for listening to the whole episode. Jurg and Dame, I appreciate you guys as always for giving your expert takes. And until next time, peace.